behalf of the Center for Communications and IT Research and the Information and Computer Sciences Department, we would like to welcome you all in this joint seminar on cloud computing, a reality and a direction. And since the sky is clear today, we decided to have some clouds inside the room. We don't know whether it will be raining or not, but at least clouds will be there, inshallah. We are lucky today to have a distinguished guest speaker, who is Dr. Mamdouh Al-Najjar, Deputy General Manager for Education and Corporate Social Responsibility in Microsoft. And Dr. Mamdouh طبعا is very well known for, I think, most of you. And in Arabic we say غني عن التعريف. But for those who joined KFUPM lately, Dr. Mamdouh Al-Najjar had his BS and Masters from KFUPM in 1982 and 1986 sequentially, and he had PhD in computer science in 1989 from Illinois Institute of Technology. Dr. Mamdouh worked as a Deputy Director for the Data Processing Center, which is currently the ITC, in 1994, and then the Director of the Data Processing Center, and then the Dean of Admissions and Registration at KFUPM, and then the Head of Information and Communication Technology in KFUPM as well, and then finally the Dean of Faculty and Personal Affairs at KFUPM before he left to Microsoft, holding the position of the Deputy General Manager. He is a member of the Advisory Committee of Prince Mohammed bin Fahd Program for Youth Development. He is a member of the ICT Committee of Disabled Children Association, and he is the board member of the Prince Sultan University. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Mamdouh.
I think I know most of you. I would like also to shake hands with you all. I think it's going to be difficult to do it right now, but we can do it after this presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Mansour. I really appreciate your hosting this presentation. I'm coming to you with the cloud. So cloud is always something that is good in our society. It brings with it a lot of good things. Okay, so this is what I'm positioning this presentation that, this is the first presentation about cloud computing anywhere that I have done for education. So I thought KFUPM should be the place where we start cloud computing awareness. Just to set the expectation right for this presentation, this is going to be an awareness session. It's not going to be going deep into the ideas of a researcher's point of view, but it is a general awareness of what is the cloud and how does it work, okay? So that if you asked about the cloud, you can answer in 1, 2, or 3 sentences, and you can know the benefit of the cloud also in a very good way to the economies of whether to the country or to the place where you are in, or to yourself as an individual. Okay? So these are the 3 things that I wanted to present today. I hope that it will be, you will get out of this presentation with something that allows you to have a productive discussion with your students and your faculty. You can see where the future is and how you position the cloud within the curriculum, within the things that you teach. And if you are in the IT, how to use this knowledge to be able to direct your resources so that you can scale up into a cloud. And if you are an individual, how to use the cloud services that are available right now. Basically, it's a reality and that you can use right. Okay? So this is, and please, you can just stop me anytime to ask a question and verify any point that you need to get more information. is the agenda. We'll be looking at the time change, what is changed, and then we will relate to the change that is happening around us to what is the response, what are the things that we do in Saudi Arabia to be able to follow this change or to adapt this change in the new directions of computing worldwide. So this is a market dynamics in Saudi Arabia that will help us understand where we are right now according to the region, according to the world, and how are we responding? Are we slow in responding to this new direction? Are we faster than the others to respond to these directions? And what do we need to do, in fact, to be able to respond positively and to leverage the good things and the values of the cloud in the community? Then we will be defining the cloud. What is it, from a Microsoft perspective, and why it is now, why wasn't it, back in 30 years or so? Why do we have it to have now? Why is it a reality? And what are the three models, the service models, and what are the three deployment models? And then we will have the choice of going to either private cloud and the public cloud, and the choice that we have to go here or there, and what are the benefits for that. Okay, and how do we get there? And then we will basically have some time for discussion. Okay, the time of change. Now, there is a growing challenges now in the education, growing challenges in the business, growing challenges in the government. These challenges are defined in these 3 points. There is an increasing complexity of the IT in organizations. So if you look at yourself as an individual, and you look at the system that you're using every day, you will see that the complexity of using the IT is increasing to you every day. Before, you're using only very few things. Now, everything that you use today relates to the IT, whether it is government services, whether it is business services, the banks, the whatever services that you have, the mobile that you have, the social networking that you have. So it's all, the increasing complexity is there. This increase in complexity requires new ways of thinking about computing in the future. Higher expectation, people now have higher expectation as individuals, as corporations also, have higher expectation than before. Now, they used to use really small things in the IT. Now, they are not really satisfied with giving moderate complexity or moderate things. They want the highest level of IT everywhere. So this is important, that this is a new challenge that we need to address, because it is the customer need, or it is the individual needs, and it is also the organization. Now, there are new realities in the world that we need to address. We cannot just do with the way that we do every day, because there are new things that are happening. People are collaborating together. The world is coming together as a one unit. So we cannot just say we are being protected and say, well, we will only do things the way that we wanted it to do, but we really need to do it as also others. We need to collaborate with others and to integrate with others to be able to address the challenges. Now, there are 3 possibilities also that are emerging that can address these challenges. The new efficiencies that we have, new engagements, and the new opportunities. We will go through some of these, or in fact each one of them within the next few slides. We will see what are the new efficiencies that we have, and the new engagements and the new opportunities. New opportunities can be for researchers, can be for students, can be for organizations, and we will address each one of these points in 2 minutes. Let's look at how we respond as Saudi Arabia to these new challenges and to these new changes in the cloud computing part. Now, if you look at the first point here, we say that Saudi organization mainly concerns about the lack of cloud knowledge and understanding. If you go to Saudi Arabia, okay, you will see that people do not understand what is the cloud. And that's why we're here today. Okay, we need to understand more about this direction. We need to understand more about this reality, so that we can adopt it in a faster rate than others. If you understand things, if you understand the value of these new directions, then we will be able to adapt it more and get the value of it more than others, then we can lead into technology and even have others adapt these technologies. Okay? The other point here is that the number of Saudi organizations planning to adapt the cloud is only 34%, okay? And it is much lower than the regional average, which is 59%. That means, that says something very important, okay? That the people that are not planning to adapt the cloud, okay, only 34%. If you look at the people around us, it's almost 60%, which is like we are 55 below the region, which means that comes as a result, I would say, as a result from the first point. If we don't understand, the cloud, then we will not be able to plan to adapt the cloud in our organizations. What's good about the third point here is that the public sector, which means government and education, is basically taking the initiative, taking the lead into the cloud initiative in Saudi Arabia. 45% of the initiatives in Saudi Arabia is driven by the government, and 25% is by the oil and gas. And this is something that we need to see in the research institute. Why is the gas and oil is behind the government? They should be the first, in fact, to adapt the cloud computing. Now, the fourth point is the CEOs were the most frequently cited and primary decision makers. This says that the CEO have more knowledge of the cloud. They are driving the IT in their organizations, which means that it is not driven by the IT sector, it is driven by the higher levels. Now that can be good and that can be bad, because if both of them would be leading this technology, that would be the ideal situation. But CEO seems to be leading the initiatives into the cloud computing. Now servers, emails are the most utilized cloud computing services that are in Saudi Arabia. Okay, and if you divide that, we combine email 29%, web conferencing and collaboration 24%. These are the top cloud computing services that are adapted in Saudi Arabia. So this gives us really the dynamics. Now, how does that relate to where we are right now as a leading institution in the kingdom for research and for development? I think we need to pass this message. We need to learn more about the cloud. How does it benefit our students? How does it benefit our professors and our research directions? Okay, and how can we get the benefit of the cloud in also building the infrastructure within KFUPM and also helping others outside KFUPM to adopt these technologies? All right. Now, so let me go to the definition. This says it all, in fact. This slide says what is cloud computing. It's basically a new approach of computing. Okay. This new approach is based on the internet and the scalability of the internet. Okay, so it's a new approach that uses the internet as a way of scaling it, all right, and having everybody connected to that cloud, all right. So you have a variety of devices, you have the mobile, you have the PC, you have all that, all connected to the cloud in a one platform. Okay, so if you look at the main attributes of the cloud, basically it is a service-based. So service means that you can just plug in and use. Okay, let me just give you an example. Assume that you want to build a new university. Okay, you want a new university. Okay, that is in Arab or in Jizan or wherever. If you want to build a new university, you need to have all the systems ready, isn't it? You need to have personnel system, you need to have email system, you need to have network, you need to have everything. Student registration system, library system, student affairs system, so on and so forth. And how long does it take to build these systems? 1 year? 2 years? Sometimes. If you are lucky, it will be 1 or 2 years. Okay? Now assume that if you build a university today, you can just plug in the internet and have all these systems in the university. What difference does this make to the university? huge difference, isn't it? So I want to imagine this, that I can have a new company today in Khobar, a new office in Khobar. I want to establish a new company. Instead of building my infrastructure for that company, I want to plug in the internet and get everything that relates to my company. I can get an email address, I can get a web page, I can get all the systems that runs my company. I don't have to worry about anything. I would say just I need 5 accounts because I have 5 employees, then I need 5 accounts. So it is service-based, it is scalable. You can, grow up or grow down. Okay, so if you have 5 employees, then you use only the service for 5 employees. If you reach 1,000, you can go to the 1,000. Then if you drop to 500, you can drop the service to 500. It is shared. Everybody uses it. Your company and his company and his company are using the same systems. It is measured by use, so it is by the user. So if you have 5 users, you pay only for 5 users. If you have 100, you pay for hundreds. And it is delivered by the internet. So these are the key attributes for cloud. But the vision is that it's a service. Okay? Plug into the internet and you have everything in front of you. You don't have to have an IT section, an ITC, procedure. You don't have to have the whole IT. You can, but we will see that you need it anyway because you will have to have a private cloud. Otherwise, some people will lose jobs here. Okay? No. Nobody will lose a job. Okay? I promise you. Not in the next 3 years at least. Okay, unless we go with the cloud. Okay, so we would be shifting your competencies, your skills into the cloud computing, and that requires a skilled workforce. Okay. Now, this is where we talk about. I'm sorry, we need to go back. Yes, here. So we have also 3 deployment methods: the public, the private, and the hybrid. Okay. When you talk about the public, I think most of us use the public cloud, some service for public cloud. Who doesn't have an account in Hotmail or whatever email? It seems that everyone has his own email at KFUPM.edu.sa and another Hotmail address or Google address or whatever, isn't it? So these are kind of services. Hotmail is a cloud service where it is in the cloud. Okay, there is no systems within KFUPM that allows you access. It's all there. You don't know where it is. Your emails are somewhere in the world. You don't know where it is stored. If you have a SkyDrive, you store your files in the SkyDrive. You don't know where it is stored. You know that if you are anywhere in the world, you can go to your Hotmail account and get these files, isn't it? You can access the Hotmail anywhere in the world. So this is what we call a public. The data is yours, okay, but you don't know where it is, okay? It is somewhere in the cloud, okay? Now, it is the responsibility of, for example, Microsoft to protect your privacy, okay, to make sure that nobody has access to that information. So this is where privacy comes into the picture. A private cloud is something that you own. You have a data center here in KFUPM, okay, and you're doing the cloud for KFUPM and for all the colleges that in KFUPM. So you know where the data is. The data is in the IT center. Okay, it is in these servers. Okay, and you're providing all the services to KFUPM employees, but everybody knows that this is a private KFUPM cloud. Okay. Now a hybrid is something in between. I'm just pushing the wrong buttons here. Okay, so a hybrid is something in between. Let's say that you have some sensitive data and something that you don't care about. Emails, I don't care about the emails. It can be anywhere. But a student registration system, I want it to be here at KFUPM. Okay, payroll information, I want it to be here at KFUPM. I don't want it to be in the cloud. Okay, so let's have it a hybrid. Okay, we will have our own data that we care about at KFUPM. All right, and some of the services that are not very sensitive, we will have it just in the cloud. So student emails can be in the cloud, no problem. We have 10,000 students. Why do we have to have 10,000 email IDs in KFUPM? No, we will just make it in the cloud. And maybe professors' emails are somehow sensitive because exams, research, and this and that. Let's have it here at KFUPM. Student registration, let's have it here. Maybe library, let's have the library, for example, in the cloud. For example, so here we have a hybrid model where you can get the best of the cloud and the best of what you can, or the best of what you want to retain here in the organization. Now the computing models that are available here is three computing models. One is called software as a service, and the other one is called platform as a service, and the third one is infrastructure as a service. Okay, so each one is going deeper into from software to infrastructure. We will go over these three computing models in a little bit more detail in a few minutes, but to be general, in a software as a service, you get the whole service. Okay, the software, you're using it, let's say a payroll service or a payroll payroll system, then you get it from the cloud, you get it from A to Z, you don't have to manage it. The infrastructure here, you're managing the number of servers, the number of clients, and the number of software applications in your organizations. Okay, but we will take you through this in a few minutes. Let's look at how the evolution of the electricity and use that as a way of looking at cloud computing. In old days, everybody builds a house and also have a generator beside that, so generates his own electricity. Okay, we were not there at that time. Maybe some of us, I don't know. But in old days, this is what happens. Okay? If you build a house, you need to have also a generator. I think it is. You can find some of these things in some of the areas, remote areas of Saudi Arabia. But then things grew. Okay. Now we have the electric grid. Everybody uses the electricity as a service. You build a house. You just go to the STC and say, I'm sorry, the electric company, so the electrical company, and say, well, I need power. They will give you power and just put the cable there. So people now use electricity as a service. And this is exactly the same thing, okay? We started with the small computers, okay, big computers, the very big ones, and then we went to small computers, the PCs, all right? Then we have networks, and then we have client computer, client server, and then we went into, the internet, and then what is next is the scale of the internet, okay? Once we went to the internet, we will be scaling up to the internet. Let's see how the evolution of some other things. This is the adoption versus time. This is very, very interesting. I love this, this slide because it gives you, the picture over many years. This is the number of years, and this is the percentage of adoption, and this is the technologies. So if you look, for example, at the first one, automobiles, okay? If you start from zero, automobiles took 25, 30 days with zero adoption. And then it grew up, okay? So in 75 years, people tried, 25% of the population get a car, his own car, okay? Now, after like 100 and so years, now we have like 75% of the people adopting their own cars. Now, the same for the telephone, the same for electricity, television, radio, VCR. Look here. Look at this point here, how interesting it is. From 0 to 25 years, see how the adoption of the VC is. See the cellular phone is, and see the internet. It's going up to the sky. It's exponential, going up. So the adoption rate, okay, for the cellular, PC, and internet, if you combine these together, and see the adoption rate, it is going to the sky exponentially. So in a few years' time, okay, the internet, PC, and the cellular will go into this place, okay, will be adopted by 80% of the people, or even more than the population. Which means that this is the direction of the technology, okay, that the internet, the cellular, and PC are the ones that will be driving the technology and the adoption in the next few years. All right? Now, why is the cloud? Now, is there any discussion point, any question about what is the cloud? Do you know what is it at least at this point in time? We'll go into details of what it is. So, any questions, any issues here? looking at infrastructure more. Okay, we'll come to that. Now, why we mentioned a lot of these things that I have here about why is it now? It is because we have a new economy. Okay, we have new economies, in the world. People are, if you look at the economics now, people are trying to shift from investing in the capital to making it more of the operational cost. So instead of having it as a capital cost, into an operational cost. The reason is that people or organizations would like to have the flexibility. All right? Flexibility of scaling up and scaling down. So if I am a company, if I am a university, I have 1,000 faculty members, okay, then I can scale up to 1,000. If somehow I got 800 faculty members, then I can lower my expenses or operational expenses down. Okay, so it is a matter of cost here. The cost is becoming a very important factor in running any organization, whether it is education, government, or business. So with these economies, okay, the cloud will allow you to shift your capital expenses to operational expenses, which means that you do not have to build huge IT centers, but get a service. Okay? So you pay for the service instead of paying for the infrastructure, the operations, and everything that relates to providing that service yourself. Okay? Now, the other one is reducing the management. Okay? So it's for cost, scalable cost, and reducing the management. Now, we can notice very easily in public sector, in government, and in education that there are very few people who are very skillful in IT. Okay, the skill rate in education and government is really difficult to bear with. That's why many of the people go from education and government to business. Okay? So if you have a reduced management, then your dependency on the manpower skills will be less. Okay, so it is easier to manage. Okay, you don't have to maintain it. It's all in the cloud. So that means that will give you the value, and you are not locked into some people that are managing your infrastructure and managing your applications. It also brings with it the security. It brings with it the fault tolerance and reliability. All these are part of the values that cloud computing will bring with it. Now the third one is basically we are redefining the productivity of individuals. Usually the productivity is looked at as, how can you manage things within your desktop using the tools, whether it is Office, whether it is collaboration tools, and so on. Now here, the productivity is going to scale up widely, because now you are not only limited to the circle that you are in, but you are basically collaborating with the whole world, okay, and sharing your files and sharing your thoughts with the other people in the cloud. Okay. Now these are some of the very nice reviews that I think this was a part of my abstract. You will see that by 2012, 80% of the Fortune 1000 companies or enterprises will be using some cloud computing services. But the interesting thing is that 20% of these 1,000 companies will have no IT assets. They have no IT center. ITC is not there. Okay, so 20%. Now that doesn't say that every company will have this. As I said in the beginning, that doesn't maybe apply to government, because government would like to, because of the sensitivity of the data, government would like to have the data in its own premises. They would like to have a private cloud. Okay? But the future is saying that if there are some assurances for security and for privacy and for that, even some of these services can be ported on the cloud, because it is faster, it is less manageable, and it makes more sense in terms of economy. So this is something of a direction, okay, of a direction to us as educators, okay, to educate our students, to educate our researchers that there is a new approach of computing now. The new approach of computing is going into that direction. Maybe we should do something about it here and have it as part of what we do to our students. Now, this is an example of why. Why do we need it? Why do we need cloud computing? Let me shed some light on the first part here, on and off service. Let's say that we have Umrah system. The Umrah system is on 6 months of the year, and they don't allow Umrah for the other 6 months. Okay? And there is a system somewhere that says if you want to apply for an Umrah visa, you need to apply in this. Okay? And everybody from the whole world going to that portal apply for an Umrah visa. Now, if it is on only for 6 months, and then 6 months it is not allowed, what do you do for that infrastructure? You keep it ideal? Doesn't make sense, does it? So why do I build the whole system, okay, that can run 12 months, and I'm only using 6 months of it? Why do I use cloud services so that I can buy 6 months of service, okay, and don't pay for the other 6 months, okay? So an on and off service is good for the cloud. You have something that works now and doesn't work. The other one is growing fast. You're a company, you're 100 employees, but you're growing very fast. The IT center will not be able to grow as fast as you are. Okay? So that's where you need cloud services. Unpredictable trusting. Let's say that you have a service, okay, and sometimes you don't understand. If everybody is rushing to that service, and sometimes people just go and don't use that service. It is unpredictable. So if it is unpredictable, then you use the cloud service because you can add more servers, you can add more storage on the cloud. By a click of a button, you can have 100 servers. By a click of a button, you can have 60 terabytes, okay, additional storage. Okay, so this is where the unpredictable trusting is. And unpredictable trusting meaning that you know that, well, for example, in our university, the times of registration, if you want to confirm your registration, for example, everybody will be reconfirming the registration in a 1 week time, for example. So everybody, all 10,000 students go into the system and try to confirm. So at that time, it's a big time for IT, but once that week is out, then everybody will not be using that service. So this is where you need the resources to be high at that week, and then you don't need that resources, so you can release that resources and say, well, I don't need it. So cloud computing is, if you look at infrastructure as a service means that you can add servers, you can add storage at any time. So if you require 100 servers today, you can add to your infrastructure 100 servers. Okay? You can add as many storage as you like on the spot. So you can buy servers, you can buy storage from the cloud and add it to your portfolio of services. That's right. This is the challenge, but it is available now. It is available now. Okay. So this, if we look at the three models, okay, we have. If you look at our competitors in this cloud computing landscape, Google and Salesforce provide services and provide a platform. Okay, Amazon provides some infrastructure and some platform. Now, VMware works in the infrastructure and the platform, but we cover it all from end to end. Okay, and this is where Microsoft covers all the 9 blocks here that we have. So let's look at now these into a bit more detail. So 3 service model: software as a service, platform, and infrastructure. Okay, and the deployment models, hybrid, and I think we covered this. Let me shed some light on that. What does that mean? Service, platform, and infrastructure. Software meaning that you have a ready-made software. Okay, let's say ERP system on the cloud. Okay, Hotmail on the cloud. It's a service. It's a software that you can use from A to Z. All right, you don't have to know how much servers this service needs, how many storage or whatever. It's just a service that is provided to you. Now, a platform will allow you, to develop your own software on the cloud. Okay, so if you want to have your own your own software, okay, you need a platform to have it on the cloud. So that will allow, for example, if you KFUPM, let's say, have a system, maybe the research institute or the center, we would like to come up with a service that is shared by government organizations, then this center can develop that software, put it on that platform for others to use as a software. Okay? So if it's an ERP system on the cloud, people outside can use it. So this will allow you to have your own application. Infrastructure meaning that you go to the lowest level of the network, of the servers, of the storage, everything that relates to it. So you don't have to have anything in your premises. You buy a server in the cloud, okay, and you buy storage from the cloud. You port your application in the cloud, and people can then access the cloud as a service. Okay? I hope I'm not confusing you guys. Is that clear? Any questions here about these three models? So platforming, let's imitate what we do now. If you're building your data center, you need to bring the servers, storage, make the network, and do that in the data center. Now, if it is infrastructure as a service, then you can buy everything from the cloud. You say, I would like to have 10 servers, 60 terabytes in the cloud, okay? And then I would like to have a platform that I can port my application on it, okay? I will do my application, then I will provide that application to people to use, all right? Things will get a bit clearer in a few minutes. So if we're looking at the public and private, we talked about this, but this is basically you have a private cloud, you have a public cloud, and we saw that you can have some here and something in between that can have both the benefits of both. Now this is the traditional. I think this will give us more in-depth on what is meant by the three service models. Okay, this color here, the blue color, is managed by you. You're managing it. Okay, and the black color is delivered as a service. Okay, so this is the traditional IT. Okay, you have a network, storage, server, visualization, operating system, middleware, runtime, data, and then the applications. So as an IT, you need to manage everything from A to Z. Okay, this is the current situation. Okay. Now, if we go infrastructure as a service, okay, then these ones in black will be provided to you, and you will only be managing this part. So there will be no server. You will not buy servers. You will not buy storage. You will not take care of the networking because it is through the internet. The networking, the inside networking is your responsibility, but the networking outside is the responsibility of the hoster. Virtualization and part of the operating system will be managed by the cloud, and you will only be managing this part. So you will be focusing only on this part. So you will be putting the middleware, the runtime, the data and applications, and using the infrastructure in the cloud to have this application running in your place. Now, if we go one more step and say, well, we would like also to have a platform, okay, then you will be managing only the data and the applications, and everything you will get from the cloud. The network, everything here, plus the operating system, the middleware, and the runtime will be in the cloud. You will only have your applications and data. Okay. The last, which is service, everything will be managed by the cloud. Okay. So you get the service, you don't know where the servers are, the network, the virtualization, everything is there. You don't know where it is. So you just get something that is ready-made for you. I hope that clarifies the model, or the three models in a nice way. Okay? Now, the future of productivity, which is software as a service, these are the 4 or 5 areas that the cloud will be basically focusing on. This is not only Microsoft, it is everywhere. This is like the industry 5 areas of productivity, whether it is Microsoft or it is with other companies. So it is unified communication, okay, business intelligence, enterprise content management, collaboration, and enterprise search. These are the 5 areas where you can, the future of productivity or the future of software as a service. So if you're looking at applications that will look at the software as a service, then these are the areas, these are the 5 areas that are identified by industry as the first step of going into the cloud computing. So unified communication, you need to communicate with everybody within your organization and outside the organization. Business intelligence will give you an insight of how the business is running. Enterprise content management, okay, all the content within that organization. How do you collaborate with others and how do you search for things within that organization? So this could be something hybrid between what you have in the on-premise and also online. How much time do I have? 15 minutes. All right, so let's look at the platform as a service. In the platform as a service, these are the products that you can use in Microsoft Word app. Okay. Now, Windows Azure Platform Fabric basically is the platform. Okay. This is connect existing applications together within the cloud. It has access control service, and also it serves as a bus that other applications can talk to each other. All right. The SQL is now on the cloud, so it is SQL Azure. SQL is basically a database management system. Okay. Now it is on the cloud, which means that you can develop, okay, a database management system on the cloud. It is there. So instead of having your SQL server within your laptop, you have the SQL in the cloud. You can develop your own database and have it then used by others as a service. And this is the platform, the Windows Azure. Windows Azure is just like a Windows server, okay? Or Windows, for the client it is Windows, for the Windows server. And then this is Windows Azure is basically the Windows in the cloud, okay? So using Windows that is in the cloud, you have the database management system there. You have the Windows Azure Platform Fabrics, so you can build applications, you can glue them together, and you can have them on Windows. Okay. So it's the same platform that you have in the PC or in the laptop, but it is not in the laptop, it is all in the cloud. So if you develop an application there, then others can use it and access it through the internet. Does that make it more clear? Okay. Okay. Infrastructure as a service. This is your interest. Okay. Let's do a very quick comparison of the infrastructure as a service. If you look at the first one, low utilization. So the infrastructure today, we have low utilization of this infrastructure. Now, for the cloud, it is moderate to heavy utilization. Okay, because it is elastic. Okay, you can go up, you can go down according to the utilization that you have. Okay, little to no automation. Usually the automation is a bit low in IT centers, but it is highly automated. Low server to staff ratio. Now, if you take an IT staff and see the number of servers that he's managing in an IT center, usually the ratio there is low because there is no automation within the data centers. Usually, one person can manage 5, 6, 10 servers. But in the cloud, one can serve 100 servers. Okay, so that makes it more efficient for the staffing. Static deployment. Okay, you have dynamic deployment. You have it physically there in the center, and this is virtual. It is in the cloud. Okay, and then you have direct path to the cloud, and here you do not have you do not have a direct path. But here you have a direct path. Now here, which means that if you have an infrastructure as a service, that allows you basically to grow up and to go to the public cloud more easily than others. Now these are the three service models and the 3 offerings. Okay, it's all based on the efficiency that the cloud brings with it. Now, the next thing is that what is my choice? Okay, what is the choice that I need to make? Now, this is a technology. Do I go for a private cloud? Do I go for a public cloud? What are the services that I need to have in the private, what do I need to do in the public, or should I have a hybrid approach? So this is where it is important to make a decision, okay? Okay, that this is the data that I want, these are the services that I want. I would like really to have my own 100% private cloud and nobody would use it. I would have post my data, everything there. Or shall I go one more step and use the public service? Let me give you an example of the private cloud. It may not be apparent in a situation where you have a university like KFUPM, okay? But imagine that you are in the Ministry of Higher Education, okay? And you have students that are scattered in 50 countries, okay? And you have cultural attaché, educational attaché in every country. And you want to have all the data and all the students use the same services. They want to apply for a ticket, they want their salaries, they want their wives to be part of the scholarship, they want to change the university. You have scholarship students all around the world. And you want to have a unified systems for them. Okay? Now imagine what can a cloud do for them. Can unify all the students around the world, 50 countries, that they can use a cloud service to use the same systems anywhere, everywhere. Okay? So a private cloud would be a good for Ministry of Higher Education. It's only for higher education, it's only for the students of higher education. Okay? And then maybe you can expand it to all the students in Saudi Arabia. Okay? So this is something that a private cloud can do because it collaborates, it puts everybody together. It joins everybody together. Instead of having, systems that are scattered here and there, you join everything together. Imagine that you have all the schools connected to a private cloud. You have 33,000 schools in Saudi Arabia. 30,000 schools. Okay? Imagine that you can all have all these 30,000 schools connected together into a private cloud where they can share the same information, where they can collaborate, where they can use the same systems, okay, and so on and so forth. Okay. So imagine the impact that a private cloud can have to education and to government. Imagine that you have a cloud for government, for the Saudi government, where you have all the government organizations into the cloud, and all citizens, okay, all Saudis and non-Saudis go and get the services from the cloud. Okay. You apply for a visa, you apply for driving license and this and that, you all have all that information within that private cloud of the Saudi government, okay, for e-government. See that, how much that would impact the economy of Saudi Arabia. Okay. And we do have all the technologies that supports this by not only building a private cloud, but Microsoft also has a competency in both, basically, private and public, and moving back and forth between the public and the private. So if you decide to go public cloud and you think that that was a bad decision, then we can take you back to the private cloud and vice versa. Okay, so the competency of Microsoft here is that it allows you to go gradually up, gradually down, and it allows you the choice of moving back and forth between the private and the public cloud. Okay, now there are some concerns. I'm sure that you thought about it. Said, well, maybe Mamdouh didn't say something about these areas, but we looked at all the things that our, customers basically look at, basically the lack of knowledge. People say that we don't know what it is. I think we've addressed that. People are very much concerned about the privacy and the security of the data. Now, if I put my information on the public cloud, how do I know that this company will not take it and sell it to some others or get access to that information to others? Okay, that's a valid question. I don't have the answer. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer today. But this can be tackled through government regulations. We're working with the government, with the Saudi government, to make sure that we have the right policies and procedures, to make sure that we allow and enable the adoption of cloud computing in Saudi Arabia. Data protection. How do I make sure that the data is protected, and I will put my files there, and somebody will tell me later on that everything is lost. Okay. So I need to have some assurances that, well, my data is protected and I can get it anytime. Okay. Business planning. Total cost of ownership is there. Okay. I need to plan my business. How do I know that what I am paying for is cheaper for me, will bring much more value to me? And many other, interoperability, readiness, and work migration, and so on. So these are all concerns. That's service level agreements and so on. So these are all concerns that we need to tackle, we need to discuss. We're discussing with, with education organizations, with the research organizations, with the government, to be able to address these concerns and to be able to have answers to many of the questions that we have in mind today. All right? Now, the customer can evolve. Now, if we have these concerns, we don't need to go and jump into the cloud. We go all, let's go all, public cloud. No, let's look at it in a way that we would like to start the process, start gaining the benefits, and be able to go and grow into the cloud. So you can start by the steps: standardization, consolidate and virtualize, build resilience, competency security, standardization, and so on. So it's basically moving gradually to the full automation environment. All right. So I think we have steps within KFUPM and other organizations to trigger this process and to start the readiness for the cloud as soon as possible. Because if we don't start it right now, then it's going to be very difficult for us to do it in some later time. All right. This is not a marketing, even though it has all the products, but this is just giving you that in Microsoft, we're ready for the cloud in terms of the number of products. Okay, these are the categories. Okay, the Office, the Exchange, the SharePoint, the Link, Windows Azure, Windows Server, Dynamics, Windows Intune. Okay, these are all products that will allow you to do the full automation. Okay, so that you really gain the benefit of the cloud. So, for example, I think many of you have heard of Windows Intune, for example. Windows Intune will allow you to, to collaborate or to have servers all together in one place, and you can control these servers, you can control the updates, you can control everything within that space. Okay. In Microsoft, there are deep investments in infrastructure, 2.3 billion invested in cloud infrastructure. Okay. There are 30,000 engineers that are working, okay, in the cloud services. Imagine 30,000 engineers working in Microsoft, okay, on cloud services. What does that mean? It is the future of computing. Okay? It is the future of computing, and we need to be aligned with that. Okay? We need to be aligned as educators. We need to be aligned as researchers, because if 30,000 engineers are working in cloud computing today, okay, and we have all the products there, then the shape of computing will change very rapidly. It's going to change very, very rapidly. Okay, so we need to be aware that there is something happening there, and it's really, really big. It's the impact of cloud computing is much more than the impact of internet to our lives. All right, and you will see that these things will be part of the economies within the next few years in many, many countries. So we can take the lead, basically, in educating ourselves, in adapting the technology, and bringing that value to the others. Okay. Now, the commitment to the services excellence, we have all what it takes to make sure that we protect, and we have all the standards, and we have all the policies. We're working with many governments in the world to be able to make sure that all the concerns are addressed, and the cloud computing will roll out easily within countries without any problems, and the countries and the individuals will take the benefits of this new technology in a very short time. Okay? These are some of the customers. This is McDonald's. All these are customers that are using it right now. Okay, so it's not. In fact, this is also on all the slides, Starbucks and other things. They are all using cloud services. Now, just to give you what McDonald, for example, is saying, you see, I'm sorry, see this quote here. We looked at a variety of cloud-based offerings, and only Microsoft could meet our requirements for reliability. Okay, we have already started our rollout of Exchange Online, and we will consolidate 42 email systems into one. I'm not looking at the first part. Let's look at the last part here. We will consolidate 42 email systems into one, reducing the IT cost by 30%. They have 42 email systems within the company. Okay, so like they have 42 companies. With the use of cloud computing, we joined all the 42 email systems into one. Okay, and that made a reduction of 30% of their IT. Okay, that's millions and millions of dollars. Okay, so cloud is big scale. Cloud is big. Okay. Okay. This is what we have right now, 90,000 business customers, 40 million paid online. See, that is of today. More than 500 government entities are using the cloud, Microsoft Cloud that is. Over 50% of the Fortune 500 are using the cloud. 70% exchanging from nodes, and 16,000 advisor partners. There are 16,000 companies, that is, doing cloud computing in the world right now. This is how big it is, how the scale is. All right, this is some things that we have done before in the United Arab Emirates with economy. Okay, we have a solution there based on cloud computing, all automation of the technology were part of this. And they are the first adapter, basically, of cloud computing. Salat was the main partner who was doing this with us. Now, the role of the telecom in Saudi Arabia, STC or Mobile or Zain, is crucial to this because they will be the ones that will provide the public cloud in Saudi Arabia. Okay. So Mobile started building a huge IT center in Riyadh, and they're now selling that service to government. Okay. Saudi Post is doing the same. Okay, so they are providing emails to government organizations. Why should, if you are a government organization and you just started, you want to build your own infrastructure, instead of doing that, go to Mobile, get the number of IDs that you need, and that's it. It's on the same domain and everything. Get everything as a service from Mobile, for example, or from STC, or from Saudi Post. These are some posters within Saudi Arabia that can provide the public cloud. Now the next step maybe is to have, for example, Mobile or STC, serve the whole area, maybe all the GCC countries, maybe all the Arab worlds, maybe all the Muslim worlds. Okay, so we can scale up from what we are right now to the Arab, to the Muslim world. Remember that we are like 1 billion Muslims around the world. We can serve all these things. Okay. These are some other technologies in the Department of State of California. Now, with this new opportunity, I don't have that much time to, so I'll just go over this very fast. The new efficiencies that we have, we talked many about the new models, lowering the cost, using the services, okay, new engagements. This is an interesting one also. This is where government is sharing information with citizens, where they point out to the areas. This is, I think, Malta or something, Malta. So these are areas where you have some environmental concerns, so they put it in the internet, and you can click on that and see what is the environmental situation for that particular part in that country. Okay, so this means that the government is sharing information with citizens, so this allows new opportunities for government to share information with the citizens. Okay, this is new opportunities. Now, opportunities. I want to highlight this. This is a nice picture here. It's a lady there who is sitting in a cool place and looking from the window, for new opportunities. Opportunities of what we do, what can we do, okay, to use this as an opportunity for us to researchers, what can we do to use the cloud as a way of competitive edge? Okay? I think we can do a lot. This country has a lot of good things, and with a good direction, I think it can really use these technologies that are available today, okay? Not only to use it within individuals and within our organizations, but to learn more about it and to use it as a way of economic development. We know that we have a problem in employment. Our youth are not having that many opportunities in the job market, simply because they may not know, the skills factor is one of them. So these are opportunities for our youth to get more education on this, more skills, and to really use opportunities to have applications that can run on the internet, that can run on the cloud, and you can sell to others and can really affect the economy in your area. So as education here, we have opportunity with the students, with the faculty, with the researchers, with the thinking of leading the country into this new direction. Let's make this happen, okay? So it's a journey to the reality. I think we need to look at this very seriously, that the cloud is a direction. It's not only Microsoft, it is the industry. I'm not saying that this direction is a Microsoft direction. This direction is the direction of IT. Okay? If you look at other companies, it is the same, okay? So we'll make it happen, inshallah, and thank you very much for your attendance. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Yes.
Yes. Thank you for your presentation. Just have one question about, you mentioned security and privacy. I would say also another issue that I expected to see, maybe just clarify that, is you say you connect to the internet and then you're in the cloud. But now, which also means that if I get disconnected of the internet, I am out of the cloud. So that's another concern here, because everything is dependent now on my network. If my network goes down, then I lose all the connection.
This is a very genuine question. I think this is one of the things that we always get. A common concern for many people. If I am going to use this cloud service, then I would have to have a very reliable internet connection, and also a very fast one. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay, and it becomes like, what is first, the chicken or the egg? Okay. So what we're saying that is that you move to the cloud gradually. Okay. But once you know where you need, then you can pull in the things. So if you know that you need that service, you need then to build the infrastructure for it, the infrastructure that is outside the cloud. So you start with something small according to the bandwidth that you have, that is not critical, that if it cuts out for 24 hours, doesn't matter, which is the email system. But you know that within 2-3 years, you are going to port one of the main applications on the internet. Then you would work on that issue. The connection, reliability of the issue, and whether the connection is really fast connection and so on. So it becomes like, if you go to the cloud, it will basically affect those who are putting the infrastructure to have a reliable and fast connections. Okay, so it encourages the telecom to do it. Okay? Sure.
Well, okay, what about the information is private or whether it's in the public side or private side, for example, what guarantee do I have, or whether public or private, that no other Julian Assange or WikiLeaks, for example, penetrate and all over the world?
Exactly. That's why we said that if you look at the slides here, we had one that relates to your concern. And I said that I don't have the answers, basically. But the answer to this is very simple. Okay? Don't look in the cloud right now the things that you don't want it to leave. Okay? Okay, so if you have, for example, if you an email user, email for students, you can have that in the cloud because it's not very sensitive. If something goes into WikiLeaks, it doesn't really matter. It's a student email. What happened to the homework? homework, whether that teacher is not really good, what is the best teacher for that course, and this and that. It doesn't really matter. But it's already in the SKQPM. So it doesn't really matter. But if you're doing something that is really fishy within the email, then that becomes really a problem, you know. So fishy means that you're fishing, for example, in the internet, which is something not good to do, you know. So it means that you need to be careful. Let's do something gradual. We have these are the concerns. Okay, do things gradually. Let's try by private cloud. A private cloud, nobody penetrates from outside. Have our own data that we want here within the private cloud. But things that are important, put it there. Be ready to go and move gradually as the maturity improves for this IT and the cloud. Be ready to go more and more into the use of this service. That's, I think, my answer. Yes.
What do you think about the impact of political conflicts and accessibility to public clouds? There is a conflict, political conflict.
Political conflict and its impact on the cloud.
Yeah, the accessibility to the cloud. You have a cloud, then something happened in the political side.
Yeah, there's always a way of, you know, having things, you know, like imaging the same thing in the cloud, you know, so if something falls down in the cloud, you are not just, you know, staying idle. The thing in the cloud can be in the same center that you have. So if your internet connection is somehow cut, okay, then you have it there. Okay, you have it virtualized within a certain environment, whether it is either in the private itself or you have it within the country. So let's say that you have a cloud service that is in Microsoft and our data center is in Ireland, okay? But you have another center within Saudi Arabia, let's say Mobile or STC, who can image that, okay? Then if that falls down, then you have a local host to do. So we will think about these issues, okay? That how can we make it a reliable service, as reliable as possible, okay? So. Changing.
The service provider.
The
So
service.
that's how we make it. One stream to maybe it would be later to change the provider. Once we start to run from our
Changing the provider, yes. I think one of the points is this is the point here. Okay. I think this is one of the main concerns that brought others to use. Okay. Whether you will lock into a platform. Okay. Now you always have a choice. Okay. To move from one provider to the others in this cloud, because these are any solutions. Okay, these are any solutions that you can basically say, well, I'm done with that service, you know, or I can have all the data, you know, extracted from my system and I can then go to the others. I think that's something that's part of what we do at least in Microsoft, because you can always shift from public to private. Okay, and that's part of the game is that you could also do that. If you are moving from public to private or from public to public. Yes.
Thanks for the very informative seminar. My question about the economics of the business. And if you are saying that you can get an image for the data center, so what's the economics here? Really,
image. No, you have a hoster. You have an hoster in Microsoft. We're hosting the data in Ireland, for example. Now, if that is a very critical data, that you need to have it reliable 100%, 24 by 365, then there must be another side. It is all in the IT. You must have another side, isn't it? So you need to have another host that can carry the load, whether it is in Saudi Arabia or it is somewhere else. Okay. Now in Microsoft, we guarantee this service to you. Okay. As long as you have the connection. So if somehow our center in Ireland falls down, you don't have to worry about it. It's going to be irrelevant to you because there are other centers who will take care of this. So we guarantee the service to you as long as you have the connection. Now the question was, what if there is something that prevents you from reaching that service? Wasn't your question? Now that we cannot guarantee. That you would have to find some other place to make fall over into the other center. Okay. But the service from the same provider is guaranteed. Okay. But if you want something on the cloud, we will guarantee that nobody has access to it, and you will have accessibility to that as long as you have an internet access.
You say if you have the connection, you mean the subscription, right?
No, the internet
If you have,
the internet connection. The internet connection, you have to subscribe anyway. You cannot use it without subscription.
The last question is.
Is Microsoft planning to invest in building data centers in the region?
We have 6 huge centers around the world. Okay, and the nearest one is in Ireland. Okay, and all our hotmail and all our services is basically hosted there. Now there is no plans up to date of hosting something in Saudi Arabia because of the economics. Okay, because of the economics, their data center, service like I think it's around 500 million users. Okay, so 500 million users in one center. So we're only 27 million. Including children and everybody. So users, it could be like 15 million, which is a very tiny thing. That can be. It depends on how the business grows in the region. But we don't do that and leave the customer, aside. No. What we do is we align with the telecom. We align with mobile, STCs, or the post, and all this, and we build the capabilities to be able to provide these services. Now, mobile, STC, and Saudi Post they can sell some of the services directly right now to customers. Last question.
Assalamu alaikum. Hassan Jiki, ICS Bank. First, I would like to thank you about a very informative presentation. Actually, I have a concern and a question regarding the infrastructure as a service. Okay. My main concern is that I am using the infrastructure as a service. It's really one of the major benefits is the scalability of it. But the drawback is that if I have the scalability at the end, for example, of the month, of the period, I don't know exactly how much would I need to pay. So I can't really predict the cost of the service that I am using until I have already used it. That's the concern. I have a question.
Can I answer that first? Or then you can go to the next one. The scalability means that you can go up and down. It's not only up. Okay, so if you can use the service per unit, which means that I want 5 servers. But if I use 5 servers and within the next 5 days of the month, I know that 5 servers is not enough, I can add another server. I will test for another server. It will become 6 servers. So I can add on the minute the number of servers. Okay, it's not a subscription that if I use 5, then I have to continue with 5. You can add 100 servers, and within the next few days you say, well, it's only very low utilization. So I will drop from 100 to 50. So it is elastic. Okay? It is elastic service. It's by month. So the day you add a service, it becomes a counter. It counts for you. The day that you add 1 giga, it will count to you. The day you add a user, and it adds to you. It's by unit. So it allows you to go up very quickly and go down very quickly. Okay. Next one.
The question is that you have said that in infrastructure as a service, you are partly managing the operating system. What is the part that is out of my reach? Because I have
the client part. You have in the operating system, you have 2 things, isn't it? You
You have the one on the desktop, which is the client, and you have the one on the IT center, isn't it? The Windows Server. So the Windows Server is the cloud. The one on the desktop is yours. So you're managing your own desktops, your own updates, your own things, all the things that, all the deployment within your desktop is managed by you as an IT center. Now, if you put everything on the cloud, if everything is on the cloud, then I will manage your own desktop. I will make sure that the Windows that you have is Windows 7. It is up to date. The antivirus that you have in your desktop is up to the latest. I will make sure that there is no application that can run in your system that are not allowed by the policy of the organization. I can make sure that if you escalate any issue of support, that it will go to the right people. Okay, all these issues will be addressed by the cloud. Okay.
Thank you, well, thank you very much for this nice presentation. And I know that there are many questions, but we would like to keep with the time. So thank you again, Dr. Mamdouh, and please join me in thanking Dr. Mamdouh.